gas, all the things that we have to purchase, that we'll have to purchase the rest of our lives, goes up in cost at a rate of about 3% every year. So if your money isn't keeping up with that 3% rate, it's losing value. So you want to understand your money is a vehicle, and it's either driving and building wealth, or it's going in reverse and it's losing value. So you don't want to have money in your pocket, in your purse, in your wallet, in your car. You want to have it in an account that is compounding interest and working for your future. You definitely don't want to have money just holding on to it. The actual piece of paper is not going to be worth as much this time next year, so you won't be able to buy as much. So I want you to be smart about that. So by doing that, if I have on the budget in front of me, if my bottom line is $200, well, I don't want to just stop there. I want to take that $200 and I want to apply that into one of my investments or savings accounts. So I either want to apply that to my emergency fund, I want to apply that to a savings account, or I want to apply this to one of my financial goals. Now, every single person in this room is going to have different financial goals. Your goal might be, I want to start a business. I want to pay off my student loans so I don't pay any interest. I want to become a millionaire, so I'm saving money so that I don't have to work the rest of my life. Every person in here has different goals, different incomes, different expenses, different assets. We're all in a different financial position. So there's no way to cheat on your financial budget and your financial situation. You want to be precise and you want to have every line item filled out to your benefit. So as you go through there, let's just say, for example, I had the $200. Well, I could put the $200 into an emergency fund. Now, why do I need an emergency fund? Any guesses? For emergencies? Yes?
Car breaks down.
Car breaks down. Yes. There's a million unexpected expenses that are going to happen over the course of your life. Your car breaks down. You're sick and you can't work, so that affects your income. You have to move. Your job lets everyone go. There's a million things that happen, and so you have to be prepared for those things. Because if you're not, that's going to affect your ability to pay all of your agreed upon expenses. And then it's just a snowball effect. If you can't make those payments, now you're going to have to pay late fees or higher interest, or things are going to be turned off, or won't qualify for future things that I need because my credit was affected, because I couldn't make the payments for the things I already agreed to. So emergency fund is probably the number one thing that most advisors will suggest to any person, not just a student, but to anyone trying to get a better understanding of their finances. The question always comes up, well, do you have an emergency fund? Well, with that, if we dive in a little deeper, how much do I put into an emergency fund? What's a safe dollar amount? Is it $100? Is it $1,000? Is it $50,000? What's that magic number? Well, it all depends on your budget. If you know what your expenses are, which now that you have a budget, you know what your monthly expenses are. So you know on a monthly basis, I need at least X amount of dollars. So let's just say that's $500. Well, I'm going to multiply that $500 times 3 for 3 months. So I would need $1,500 in an emergency fund to cover my expenses for at least 3 months. So it's very simple if you're budgeting. And let me just say this, when it comes to budgeting, it's the blueprint of your entire financial picture. Without a budget, you can't go back and understand how much you need, and you can't plan for tomorrow or 6 weeks from now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now without a budget, without a plan. You won't just wake up and have $1 million in your bank account one day. That takes a lot of discipline and a lot of hard work and a lot of planning. So if that's one of your goals, is to build wealth, this is the blueprint right here. Not only is it the blueprint, but it's simple and it doesn't take a lot of time. So if you can add and subtract, if you have 15 minutes a day, you can budget. You can start to plan for your future. There's also something really neat about budgeting. There's something psychological that happens when you start to understand budgeting. You start to understand your expenses, your income, what your spending habits are, if you're building debt, if you're building wealth. every single time you make a purchase, you're thinking about how this is going to affect my budget, how this is going to affect my future. Is this going to help me build wealth? If what I'm spending the money on, is that an asset? Is that going to increase in value? Or is this just a movie or food or coffee or something that has zero value? And again, we're all human. We all have to do something as far as entertainment. So I'm not saying don't have those things, but it helps to think it through. It helps to understand what you're spending your money on. And a lot of times in today's world, we just go paycheck to paycheck. And we don't really think about our income, our expenses. We just say, hey, here's my check coming in. If there's a bill due, I'll pay it if I have it. If I don't, I'll pay them next time. And that's just it's so dangerous, especially if your plan is to build wealth. So, emergency fund is easy to figure out if you have a budget. If I need $500 a month in monthly expenses, I'm going to multiply that by 3, so $1,500 is my goal. Now, I don't have $1,500, excuse me, right off of the bat. I only have the $200. So I would apply the $200, and then next month apply another $200 until I reach the $1,500. And I'm still not done though. At that point, I need to start a new goal. And you don't have to put the whole $200 towards the emergency fund. You could break the $200 into $50 into an emergency fund, $50 into a savings account, $50 towards my credit card, and $50 towards my student loans. You are the CEO of your own finances. Every person in here is the chief executive officer of your finances. You control your business. You control what you make. You control what you spend. So be proud of that and understand that position. Now, another thing that might be important, if I'm a student and I'm taking out student loans, I'm investing. That's an investment, you guys. You're spending $5,000 or $10,000 on your education, and it's a smart investment. But how are you going to pay that back, and how are you going to pay 0% interest? How are you going to take advantage of the only loan in the world that's 0% interest? Every one of you guys in this room have a very unique opportunity to borrow money, substantial amounts of money to pay for your education at 0% interest. Now, how do I get 0% interest if I'm a student? What's that?
Pay in full.
Pay in full. So, it sounds simple, but you have to plan for that. If you don't pay your student loans off, I think it's 6 months after you graduate, you start to pay interest on those loans. Now, if you look at it from an investment perspective, if I borrow $5,000 to earn my associate's degree or my bachelor's degree, and I pay it off in full, then I know exactly what that cost me, and I know what my return is going to be because of the field that I go into. If I'm going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a tax accountant, whatever I'm going to be, I know what my salary will be. So I know what my rate of return is. Now, if I don't pay off the loan in full, then I'm starting to pay interest on the loan. That investment is now costing me more than I bargained for. And if you look at it in global terms, we're in the millions and billions of dollars in national debt in student loans. So it's a major problem. It's not a very simple problem. It's not affecting 1 out of 1,000 people. It's more like 999 out of 1,000 people. So you want to be very smart about the investment that you guys are making today. And we'll get into that here in a second. But if you are taking out student loans, be sure and ask your advisors about grants and scholarships. There's always opportunities for you guys to receive those funds that you don't have to pay back. And a lot of times those scholarships and grants are not even being applied for. So you would be the only person that you're competing with to receive the $1,000 or $2,000. So you're not having to really do, you'll do your report or you'll do the research, and it's not being compared to anyone else. You're the only one. So be smart about that. Okay, next thing is financial goal number 1. Now, a lot of times when you're thinking about finances and you're thinking about your future, if you already have debt, if you already have a credit card that has some debt on it, or if you're already taking out student loans or something of that nature, it might be wiser to pay off the debt as opposed to investing in a stock or a mutual fund or a bond or real estate or something outside of the debt. A lot of times, if you're looking at your full financial picture and the debt is costing you anywhere from 10% to 20% interest, and the investment is only going to return 10% or less, it would be wiser just to pay off the debt. So you need to understand your full financial picture, understanding income, understanding expenses, understanding current debt. So I would highly advise you to fill out this budget, recreate your own personalized budget, and then take that to one of your teachers. Take that to an advisor and have them sit down with you and go over your income and expenses and your financial position. Or contact myself and I can help you. I can give you a free analysis of what we would suggest. We'd love to do that for you. Or any bank, any financial institution will offer that to you for free. So that's my suggestion. Okay. Now, one last thing on budgeting. If your number is negative, then for one, you're building debt, and so it's very important to realize that today, right at this very moment, and begin to look at your expenses and say, hey, what am I spending money on that I can cut back on or change? And do I need to increase my income so that I can offset some of those expenses? Or maybe it's both. I need to increase my income, decrease my expenses, so I get to a positive position. So my bottom line is actually a moving vehicle that can work for my future to help me build wealth. Okay, any questions on budgeting? I know that's a lot to take in. This is just a brief, yes? Question?